Chapter 2, A Pinch of Magic and a Dash of Deception. Jinho's shoulders ached as he fumbled with his keys in the pre-dawn darkness. Sweet Dreams Bakery's familiar sign cast a gentle glow over the empty street, the cartoon cloud with its sleeping Z's somehow mocking his own lack of rest. At least nothing's tried to kill me yet today, he thought, rolling his shoulder where the dough monster had caught him yesterday. Though the day's still young. Sacred scone spirits, I'm tired, he muttered, finally getting the door open. The bell's cheerful jingle felt far too energetic for 4 a.m. The bakery's darkness greeted him like an old friend, broken only by the soft green glow of the equipment displays. Jinho moved through his morning routine on autopilot. Lights, ovens, prep stations. Everything looked perfectly normal, which only made him more nervous. Was yesterday even real? He pulled out his rolling pin, his weapon now, apparently, and studied it in the fluorescent light. It looked completely ordinary. "System?" he whispered, feeling slightly foolish. "Are you there?" "Welcome back, Battle Baker! Ready to roll with the punches? Or should I say, roll with the pastries? But Jinho groaned. "Oh, great. You're real. And still making terrible puns." "Hey, my puns are breadtacular. You're just crusty in the morning." "By the divine Danish, do you ever stop?" "Nope. Now get to work, rookie. Those spices aren't going to organize themselves." Jinho sighed and headed to the storage room. At least organizing spices is normal. No magical portals, no dough monsters, just regular, boring. The system's interface suddenly flashed across his vision in brilliant gold. "Dungeon alert. Spice Trader's trial detected. Difficulty, mild to medium heat. Recommendation, don't forget your Raita." What in the sourdough starter hell? Jinho backed away from the spice rack, but it was too late. The storage room's utilitarian walls began to shimmer like heat waves off hot pavement. The concrete dissolved into intricate arabesque patterns, geometric designs spinning out in impossible directions. "Oh, crumbs and corruption," he whispered, watching as an ornate archway materialized where the metal shelving had been. Floating Arabic script danced above it, shimmering and transforming into Korean before his eyes. Spice Trader's Trial. "Welcome to your second dungeon, rookie. Time to spice things up." "I haven't even had coffee yet," Jinho protested, but his feet were already moving toward the archway. The scents wafting through were intoxicating. Cardamom, saffron, cinnamon, spices he couldn't even name. Well, butter my bread and call me cursed. Here we go again. He stepped through the portal, the storage room vanished, replaced by a vast marketplace that stretched as far as he could see. Colorful awnings fluttered overhead, strung with thousands of glowing lanterns that cast dancing shadows across ancient stone walls. Stalls lined winding alleyways, their shelves overflowing with mounds of vibrantly colored spices. The air itself seemed alive, shimmering with particles of turmeric and paprika that drifted like lazy fireflies. "This is..." Jinho trailed off, awestruck. "Magical? Incredible? Curry-ific?" "I was gonna say terrifying," Jinho muttered, but he couldn't deny the beauty of it. The marketplace was empty of people, but it felt alive somehow. Spices swirled in impossible patterns, forming miniature cyclones that danced between stalls. A particularly friendly-looking booth caught his eye. Its counter was neat and organized, with small samples laid out in ceramic dishes. A sign in flowing script translated itself. "Free samples, perfectly harmless." "That's not suspicious at all," Jinho said dryly. "Oh, come on! Where's your sense of adventure? Live a little!" "My sense of adventure got beaten up by dough monsters yesterday." But he approached the stall anyway, drawn by a dish of ground cinnamon that seemed to sparkle in the lantern light. This is probably a terrible idea, he thought, reaching for the sample. The moment his fingers touched the spice, the entire dish erupted upward. The cinnamon swirled and coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape, its body constantly shifting and spinning like a spice tornado. "Dragon's donuts!" Jinho stumbled backwards, yanking his rolling pin from its holder. "What in the whisk is that thing?" "That would be a cinnamon elemental. Spicy little fellas, aren't they?" The elemental lunged. Jinho swung his rolling pin in a desperate arc, remembering yesterday's battles. The weapon passed right through the creature's swirling form, barely disturbing its shape. Sweet, merciful muffin tops! He dodged another attack, cinnamon burning his eyes. "Why isn't this working?" Regular attacks against spice elementals? That's not very courageous of you. Jinho scrambled backward, the cinnamon elemental's swirling form growing larger by the second. You absolute burnt bottom! What am I supposed to... His back slammed into something solid, sending clay pots clattering to the ground. Oh no, not another stall. Ah, the new battle baker arrives. Right on schedule. Jinho spun around to find an elderly man watching him with amused dark eyes. The merchant's wrinkled face was partially hidden behind an impressive white beard, and he wore traditional Middle Eastern robes covered in subtle geometric patterns that seemed to shift in the light. I'm so sorry about your stall. I'll pay for... Jinho started. The old man waved his hand dismissively. The pots are not important. Your timing, however. He reached into a pouch at his waist and pulled out a pinch of black powder. With a casual flick of his wrist, he tossed it over Jinho's shoulder. Boom! 3 curry cloud monsters that had been sneaking up behind them exploded in a shower of aromatic sparks. Holy croissants! Jinho gaped at the dissipating spice clouds. How did you... Spice foo, the old man said simply, brushing pepper residue from his sleeve. I am Master Hassan, and you, young man, are in desperate need of proper training. Ooh, a mysterious mentor figure! Very spice-tacular! Can you teach me? Jinho asked, ducking as another elemental whooshed overhead. Master Hassan stroked his beard thoughtfully. Perhaps, but proper training requires proper ingredients. He began counting on his fingers. 3 tears of a ghost pepper, essence of star anise, and the meditation cardamom. What in the name of cursed cookie cutters is meditation cardamom? You will know it when you find it. Master Hassan's eyes twinkled. But first, let us begin with the basics, before more of my inventory becomes sentient. The old man led Jinho to a cushioned area behind his stall. Ancient scrolls covered in spice-stained recipes lined the walls, and the air was thick with aromatic smoke from hanging censers. Sit, Hassan commanded, lowering himself onto a cushion with surprising grace. Spice foo is not about brute force. It's about understanding the essence of each spice, its personality, its spirit. Jinho awkwardly folded his legs beneath him. Spices have personalities? Of course! Cinnamon is passionate but proud. Cardamom is wise but reserved. And pepper? Hassan grinned. Pepper has a rather explosive temperament, as you saw. Like a spicy soap opera. The young and the zestless. Son of a burnt biscuit, could you not? Jinho muttered to the system. Ah, you hear it too, Hassan nodded sagely. The system's humor is an acquired taste. Like ghost peppers? Precisely. Speaking of which, Hassan produced a tiny red pepper that seemed to glow from within. Lesson 1. Extracting tears from a ghost pepper. Jinho eyed the pepper warily. That doesn't sound pleasant. It isn't. Hassan placed the pepper in Jinho's palm. But to master spice foo, you must first understand pain. The ghost pepper's tears only fall for those who respect its power. This is going to hurt, Jinho thought, but he closed his fingers around the pepper. Immediately, warmth spread through his hand, then up his arm. It wasn't exactly painful, more like, it's singing? He gasped. Hassan beamed. You hear it? Most apprentices only feel the heat, but you heard the pepper's song. The warmth reached Jinho's chest, and suddenly he could hear it clearly, a haunting melody that made his eyes water. 3 perfect tears rolled down his cheeks, each one glowing with an inner fire. Hassan caught them in a tiny crystal vial. Excellent! The pepper has judged you worthy. The old man carefully stored the vial. Now, for the real training. What followed was the strangest hour of Jinho's life. Hassan taught him to feel the subtle differences between spices, to sense their moods and intentions. They practiced basic forms, the cardamom palm strike, the cumin cloud step, the saffron spiral defense. Remember, Hassan instructed, correcting Jinho's stance. Each spice responds to intention. You cannot force them to obey. You must dance with them, guide them. Like kneading dough, Jinho realized. You can't fight it, you have to work with it. Precisely. Your baker's instincts serve you well. Hassan demonstrated a complex gesture that sent paprika swirling in elegant patterns. The spices are your partners, not your weapons. They practiced until Jinho's arms ached and his clothes were stained with turmeric. Finally, Hassan held up a hand. Enough for now. You show promise, young Battlebaker. He pulled out a small scroll. This map will guide you to the merchants who hold the ingredients we need. But be careful. The Battlebakers Guild has eyes everywhere. How will I recognize them? Watch for the sniffers, Hassan said grimly. Guild spies can't help testing the air around them. Their noses know too much. Jinho took the scroll, his head spinning with new knowledge. Thank you, Master Hassan. I won't let you down. Of course you won't. The old man's eyes twinkled. You have the makings of a fine spice foo master. Just remember, respect the spices, and they will respect you. Congratulations! Apprentice level achieved! You're really currying favor with the old man. For the love of Levin, this is getting ridiculous, Jinho muttered, ducking behind a display of exotic rugs. The ghost pepper merchant, a sharp-eyed woman named Amira, had demanded he prove his worth by completing an incredibly specific taste test. Who needs to identify 17 different types of chili anyway? He peeked around a particularly ornate carpet, watching Amira arrange more peppers. His tongue was still burning from the last round. Hey, at least she's not making you juggle habaneros, though that would be pretty enchilly-taining. Not now, system, Jinho whispered, shifting his weight to get a better view. The carpet beneath his feet suddenly sank with an ominous click. Dragon's donuts! The floor trembled. Jinho scrambled backward as geometric patterns began glowing beneath the carpet, ancient spice runes pulsing with amber light. The rug merchant's entire stall split down the middle, revealing a descending staircase that definitely hadn't been there before. Ooh, secret passage! Very Indiana Jones meets Gordon Ramsay. The stairs were worn smooth, as if countless feet had traveled them over centuries. Each step was inscribed with spice runes that glowed faintly as Jinho passed, illuminating the passage in a warm, golden light. What in the wandering waffle is this place? He breathed, reaching the bottom. An enormous door dominated the far wall, its surface covered in intricate carvings of ancient spice masters and legendary recipes. At its center was an unusual keyhole. Scanning unusual architecture. Processing. Alert! Rare dungeon discovery! The Vault of Forbidden Flavors. The system's usually playful tone had vanished, replaced by something almost reverent. Access requires Ancient Spice Master's Key. 0 out of 3 fragments collected. Current access level insufficient. Jinho approached the door, studying the keyhole. It looks like a spice grinder? Correct, but not just any spice grinder. This door requires the legendary tripart key of the first spice master. Location of fragments unknown. Current probability of access less than the chances of making a successful souffle in an earthquake. Thanks for that very specific statistic, Jinho sighed, turning away from the door. But something caught his eye. A small alcove set into the wall, containing what looked like an ancient spice-mixing station. Well, since I'm down here anyway. The station was a marvel of ancient craftsmanship. Small brass bowls were arranged in a circular pattern, each labeled with different spice runes. In the center sat a mortar and pestle that seemed to hum with energy. Sweet cinnamon Satan! Is this thing actually magical? Analyzing. This appears to be an ancient spice blending station, used by master spice warriors to create combat enhancements. Warning, results may vary. Side effects may include spontaneous flavor explosions, temporary levitation, and uncontrollable urges to critique everyone's cooking. Jinho picked up the pestle, feeling it vibrate slightly in his hand. So, I just mix spices and see what happens? Pretty much, though I'd recommend starting with small amounts, unless you want to become a cautionary tale, the battle baker who blew himself up with beard-growing curry. That's oddly specific. Jinho examined the bowls. Each contained a different spice, their aromas mixing in complex ways. He recognized some from his training with Hassan. Cardamom, star anise, sumac, but others were completely foreign. Okay, think. What did Hassan say about spice personalities? He selected a pinch of cardamom first. Wise, but reserved. Next, a sprinkle of paprika, for energy and heat. Finally, after some consideration, a tiny bit of saffron. Balance and control. The moment the saffron touched the other spices, the mixture began to glow. Jinho ground them together with the pestle, watching in amazement as the powder shifted colors like a miniature aurora. Analyzing new spice combination. Compatibility index, promising. Calculating effects. The mixture suddenly lifted from the mortar, swirling around Jinho's head before settling onto his skin like golden dust. Immediately, he felt lighter, more focused. His reflexes seemed sharper, and the lingering soreness from training faded. Congratulations! You created your first custom spice blend. Designation, Beginner's Battle Blend. Effects, Minor Combat Enhancement. Duration, approximately 1 hour. Not bad for a rookie, though your technique could use some grinding. Get it? Grinding? Because spices. And you're back to normal, Jinho muttered. But he was grinning. He quickly noted down the combination in his system's recipe log. This changes everything. If I can create temporary power-ups... He reached for another combination of spices, but a familiar voice stopped him. I wondered when you would find this place. Jinho spun around to find Master Hassan standing at the foot of the stairs, his expression unreadable in the golden light. Master Hassan, I can explain. I accidentally stepped on something, and... The old man held up a hand, smiling slightly. There are no accidents in the spice paths, young one. The very fact that you found this chamber... He trailed off, studying Jinho with those penetrating dark eyes. The spice path chooses its own disciples. Jinho clutched his newly created battle blend, mind racing. Then you'll help me gather the rest of the ingredients? The ingredients must be earned, not given. Hassan stroked his beard thoughtfully. But perhaps I could point you in the right direction. The star anise essence you seek. Merchant Zara trades in stellar spices 3 rows east. The ghost pepper tears... He paused, eyes twinkling. Well, you've already found Amira. Quest update. Spice collection process. Ghost pepper tears, 0 out of 3. Star anise essence, 0 out of 1. Meditation cardamom, 0 out of 1. Difficulty level, harder than getting sourdough starter through airport security. What in the whisk is stellar spices? Jinho asked. But Hassan was already climbing the stairs, his robes swishing mysteriously. Great. More cryptic spice masters. Finding Zara's stall proved challenging enough. Jinho had to dodge 2 different guild spies, their telling sniff gestures giving him away as they pretended to browse nearby stalls. The second one nearly caught him, but a quick application of his battle blend gave him enough speed to slip away. Zara turned out to be a young woman with spiral tattoos that seemed to shift like constellation maps. Her prices were simple. She'd trade star anise essence for a jar of moonlight-kissed honey from the night market's deepest level. Sweet merciful muffin tops, Jinho muttered as he descended the market's winding paths. It's like a spice-themed fetch quest. Achievement unlocked. Honey, I shrunk my dignity. The honey merchant, an ancient man who spoke entirely in riddles, demanded 3 perfect loaves of Jinho's warrior sourdough. That meant returning to Amira for ghost pepper tears, which she would only trade for correctly identifying her 17 varieties of chili. Son of a burnt biscuit! Jinho's eyes watered as he sampled the 10th variety. Is this even legally considered food? Chili identification process. 10 out of 17. Current tongue status, possibly deceased. Recommended action. Write tongue a loving eulogy. Each successful identification earned him 1 ghost pepper tear. By the time he had 3, his mouth felt like he'd tried to French kiss a dragon. Back to the honey merchant with the tears. 3 loaves of spice-enhanced warrior sourdough later, he finally had his jar of moonlight-kissed honey, which got him the star anise essence from Zara, which left only the meditation cardamom, Hassan said when Jinho returned to his stall. Cannot be bought or traded. Oh, crumbs and corruption, what now? Hassan's eyes crinkled with amusement. It must be won. The combat cardamom chamber lies beneath the market's heart. Only those who have proven their worth may challenge its guardian. Jinho slumped against a stack of carpets. Let me guess, the guardian is some kind of horrible spice monster? The ancient spice wraith, Hassan confirmed cheerfully. Quite deadly. Excellent with lamb, though. Boss battle unlocked. The spice must flow. Recommended preparation level, higher than your current will to live. Survival probability, let's just say your sourdough starter might want to update its emergency contact information. For the love of Levin. Jinho straightened up, checking his supplies. Battle Blend? Check. Ghost Pepper Tears? Check. Star Anise Essence? Check. Rolling Pin? Unfortunately, check. Remember your training, his son said, suddenly serious. The spices are your allies, not your servants. Listen to their songs. Feel their dance. He pressed a small key into Jinho's hand. The chamber entrance lies beneath the central fountain. May the sacred yeast be with you. That's not even a real blessing. But Hassan had already vanished into the market crowds, leaving Jinho alone with his gathered ingredients and a growing sense of impending doom. Quest status. Final challenge unlocked. Current mood, spicily terrified. Last words. Would you like your tombstone to read, "Here lies the baker, his plans half-baked"? What in the sourdough starter hell am I getting myself into? Jinho muttered. But his feet were already carrying him toward the central fountain. The combat cardamom chamber awaited. At least, he thought grimly, if I die, I won't have to hear any more of the system's puns. Oh, honey mustard, you wish it was that easy. The combat cardamom chamber was everything Jinho expected from an ancient spice temple, and then some. Brass sensors hung from impossible angles, defying gravity as they released spiraling threads of aromatic smoke. The circular chamber's walls were lined with thousands of spice jars, their contents shimmering with barely contained power. "Oh, butter my biscuits and call me cursed," he whispered, approaching the central altar where a single cardamom pod pulsed with emerald light. "Warning! Boss battle imminent. Recommended preparation: write your will, update your food insurance, and maybe don't stand so close to the—" "Oh, crumbs and corruption!" Jinho dove sideways as every spice jar in the chamber exploded simultaneously. The air filled with a kaleidoscope of colors, the red of paprika, the yellow of turmeric, the deep purple of sumac, all swirling together into a rising tornado of pure spice energy. The spice wraith took form at the cyclone's heart, a towering elemental being with crystallized spice armor that sparkled like diamond dust. Its face was a constantly shifting maelstrom of different spices, forming and reforming into various expressions. Boss battle: the ancient spice wraith. Warning: may cause extreme flavor enhancement, spontaneous seasoning, and mild to severe existence-threatening conditions. You absolute stale sourdough, Jinho muttered, rolling behind a pillar as the wraith unleashed a blast of concentrated cardamom energy. How am I supposed to fight that? He pulled out his trusty rolling pin and the sourdough starter from yesterday's dungeon. Time to get creative. The wraith's attack shattered his cover. Jinho scrambled away, frantically digging through his pouch of spices from Hassan's training. His fingers closed around the cinnamon. What was it Hassan said? Each spice has a personality? Acting on instinct, he sprinkled cinnamon over his sourdough as he dove behind another pillar. New recipe discovered. Flame crust technique unlocked. Now that's what I call a hot cross bun. The dough in his hands began to glow with inner fire. When he shaped it into a quick battle roll, the crust crystallized into a flame-red armor of its own. Sacred scone spirits! Jinho hurled the roll at the wraith. It exploded on impact with a satisfying whoosh, actually pushing the elemental back several feet. The wraith retaliated with a barrage of crystallized spice shards. Jinho rolled to the side, but not fast enough. Several shards sliced through his sleeve. Need to move faster, he thought, pulling out the cardamom he'd collected earlier. Following the same instinct, he infused another piece of dough. Swift rising buff activated. You're on a roll. Get it? Because you're a baker? And you're rolling? No? Tough crowd. The cardamom-infused dough seemed to defy gravity, and when Jinho ate it, his movements became lighter, more fluid. He darted between the wraith's attacks with newfound agility. But the wraith was learning too. It began combining different spices in its attacks, creating complex patterns that were increasingly difficult to dodge. A blast of turmeric-enhanced star anise nearly took Jinho's head off. What in the sourdough starter hell am I supposed to... He stopped mid-sentence, watching the spices crystallize in the air. Wait a minute. The wraith had coated itself in multiple layers of crystallized spice armor. Every time Jinho damaged one layer, another formed. But those crystals looked exactly like the ones Hassan had taught him to create with Spice Fu. Same principles, different application. Jinho gripped his rolling pin tighter, focusing like Hassan had taught him. He reached out with his senses, feeling the personalities of the spices swirling around him. The passionate cinnamon, the grounding cardamom, the explosive pepper. By the sacred yeast of the ancients, he breathed. They're the same thing! He charged forward, rolling pin held high. As he struck, he released a controlled burst of spice fu energy through the weapon. The rolling pin's impact point erupted in a localized spice explosion, shattering the wraith's crystallized armor. New combat technique unlocked. Spice Breaker Rolling Pin. Now that's what I call a flavor explosion. The wraith reeled back, its spice storm form destabilizing. Jinho pressed his advantage, each strike now combined with precisely controlled spice bursts. Cinnamon for explosive force, cardamom for precision, pepper for raw power. With a final thunderous crack, his rolling pin struck the wraith's core. The massive spice elemental froze, its swirling form stuttering like a paused video. Then, with a sound like 1,000 spice jars shattering at once, it exploded into a rainbow of aromatic dust. In the sudden silence, a single perfect cardamom pod drifted down from where the wraith's heart had been, landing softly in Jinho's outstretched hand. Boss defeated. Reward, combat cardamom acquired. Style points, extra spicy. Achievement unlocked, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Son of a batch, Jinho wheezed, finally letting himself collapse to his knees. I can't believe that worked. Neither can I. But hey, that's what happens when you curry favor with the spice gods. Please, Jinho groaned, no more buns. I just want to go back to my nice, normal bakery where nothing tries to kill me with turmeric. Oh, you sweet summer souffle. The shimmering spice dust settled slowly, coating every surface with a rainbow of flavors. Jinho stared at the pile of premium spices where the spice wraith had stood moments before. At its center, 2 objects caught the chamber's golden light. The combat cardamom pod, glowing with ethereal energy, and something else, a segment of what appeared to be an ancient golden key. Congratulations! Key fragment 1 out of 3 acquired. Only 2 more pieces until you can unlock the Vault of Forbidden Flavors, or unleash an ancient spice apocalypse. Either way, exciting times ahead. Dragon's donuts, can't anything just be simple? Jinho wheezed, still catching his breath from the battle. He carefully collected both items, tucking them into his pouch alongside his hard-won spice collection. The chamber's walls began to shimmer and blur, the ancient spice temple dissolving like sugar in hot tea. What in the sourdough starter hell? Jinho started, but the floor beneath his feet was already transforming back into the familiar concrete of Sweet Dreams Bakery's storage room. The last traces of magical energy faded away, leaving him standing among shelves of ordinary baking supplies. Did that really just happen? He touched his pouch, feeling the reassuring shape of the cardamom pod within. Manager Park? Jinho spun around so fast he nearly knocked over a container of flour. Standing in the storage room doorway was Minxio Kang, Sweet Dream's newest employee. She'd started just last week, and Jinho remembered her employment paperwork mentioned something about sensory accommodations, a sensitivity to strong scents that usually kept her at a distance from others. But now, instead of backing away from the lingering spice aromas that must be filling the room, she was leaning forward slightly, her eyes wide with curiosity. Minxio, I was just, organizing the spice rack? Jinho tried to discreetly brush some golden spice dust off his shoulder. Smooth. Really smooth. About as smooth as chunky peanut butter. The spices were glowing? Minxio took another step into the room, her usual nervous demeanor replaced by intense fascination. And I thought I saw... Was that some kind of tornado? That was a new mixing technique I'm trying? Jinho winced at how unconvincing he sounded. Battle Baker resonance detected. Analyzing. Processing. The spices feel different around you, Minxio said softly, moving even closer. They're usually so overwhelming, but now they're singing? Jinho froze. She can hear them too? Compatibility rating exceptional. Potential Battle Baker detected. Recommended action, start planning lesson plans, and possibly your will. You can hear the spices? Jinho asked carefully. Minxio nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. I've always been sensitive to scents. It's why I usually stay away from strong flavors. But this is different. Ever since I started working here, I've noticed something strange about your baking. The bread you make, it feels alive somehow. Warning! Natural Battle Baker talent detected. Power level higher than your current credit score. Oh, sweet cinnamon Satan, Jinho muttered. He had 2 choices. Try to maintain his cover with increasingly implausible excuses, or Mincio picked up a fallen cardamom pod from the floor, and it immediately began to glow in her hand. Well, that decides that. Mincio, Jinho said slowly, how would you like to learn some special baking techniques? Her face lit up. You mean the glowing spices? And the magical bread? I knew there was something different about this bakery. She clutched the still glowing cardamom pod. Please, Manager Park, I want to understand this. Will you teach me? Emergency quest alert. Title, The Student Becomes the Master. Whether you're ready or not. Objective, maintain your cover while teaching a natural battle baker. Warning, student's potential exceeds master's current level. Difficulty, hope you enjoyed that spice wraith, because this is going to be way harder.